Small holding fence building is always a challenge. And here at Oak Knoll Farm, I practice Scottish sheep keeping. And I've got a fold of about an acre where everybody comes in at night. And then I've got almost 8 acres of my 10 that's dedicated to separate paddocks where I can move sheep from place to place in the old way to keep them healthy. One of the big problems with that is the amount of fence that you have to build, and I found a really easy solution to that, and that's the 50-inch tall by 16-foot long cattle panels, 6.5 T-posts, and here I am 10 years into building Oak Knoll Farm on a wrecked old commercial nursery, and I'm opening up the last section of the farm to pasture. It's the old pumpkin patch where they had hills and valleys for actually at one time they grew champion pumpkins here, a couple of 200-300 pounds for the county fair. I let that grow up, and 10 years on, all the little valleys are full of trees, but the pathways where the pumpkins were on the raised beds, 10 to 15 feet wide. There's 6 rows like that. So there's about an acre here yet. That's a couple hundred feet long. There's about an acre here yet, and I'm going to open the rest of this up to the sheep and goats. Getting ready to rescue a whole crew of soways from down in Tennessee, and this will give me my last big section of property that I can open up to pasture. Cattle panels and 6.5-foot T-posts. At the end of the day, I did financial analysis on the difference between putting up woven wire fence and all the drama associated with the corners. Putting corners in with woven wire is a real challenge, and it's a lot of work, and it usually involves 3 or 4 people, at least 2. But if you work alone, by yourself a lot like I do, especially with heavy loads and heavy equipment, you got to find different ways of doing things, and the last thing I want to do is have to find somebody that you can't rely on to come in and help out. So I looked at these cattle panels and the difference. They seem expensive. The cattle panels now are about $30 a panel, and the fence posts are about $3 a piece. And it seems expensive to look at it at first glance. However, by the time that you don't have to put the corners in and buy the big posts to secure the corners and do all the bracing and all the extra work that's involved, the cost for cattle panels and T-posts, because corners are easy with cattle panels and T-posts. The corners are just a matter of putting a post in and wiring the two meeting angles of fence in. And the fun thing about that is you don't have to put square. They don't have to be square. You can run 45 or 30 degree angles on your fence and have them meet, and there's no drama associated with doing that. It's just a matter of putting a T-post in and tying them together. I use aluminum fencing wire. I'm 10 years in. I've heard people say, well, you can't do that. I'm 10 years in, and aluminum fencing wire with galvanized fence, it looks just exactly the same way the day that I put them in. So at the end of the day, the cost is about the same for cattle panels and T-posts. It's easy to do. You can do it by yourself, but remember one thing with T-posts, there's really only one time of the year to drive these darn things, and that is right after the thaw. So in February or March, after the ground thaws, or depending on where you live, might be later, might be sooner, the ground's still wet and soft. It takes literally about, I posted a video on Instagram last week, it takes about 10 or 15 seconds to drive a post with one of the T-post drivers, the handheld T-post drivers. You don't need a tractor, you don't need to punch them in with a machine. And so anyway, for small holding fence building, that's my take on how to do this. And one last thing is, if you go to my Etsy store, if you're looking for fiber arts equipment, remember FROST, F-R-O-S-T is a coupon, and that'll get you 10% off. It's a permanent coupon on Etsy, and that'll get you 10% off in the store.